Hello there, everyone. This is Rebecca with Red True Crime, and I'm back. I know this is like a lot of me today, and I mean, it's not like I'm going to apologize for that because it is what it is, and got a lot going on. So, those of you who've been following me today know about the Sean Diddy Combs trial, and he got sentenced today to a whopping total of 50 months. He is going to get what's called time served for the 13 months he's already been spent in prison or in jail waiting for his trial and sentencing. And if he has good behavior, he will even have even more time removed. So he's looking at maybe at the most 2.5 years. Yeah, not thrilled with that. I mean, he is facing some type of consequence, but I would have liked to have seen him there a bit longer, personally. But this episode is not about Sean Combs. It's about the topic of stalking. But before we get into that, let me take this moment to say thank you to everyone who has supported the channel so far for the views, for the comments, the likes, everything you've done um, on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, everywhere you guys have been. I appreciate everything. And I'm going to do a call out and say if you have not already subscribed on YouTube, please do so. Can you please? It's free, doesn't cost anything. And when I do videos on the missing people or, looking for witnesses to crimes, these videos get out there, people see them, they might know something that they may not even realize is relevant till they see something like this. So, just throwing that out there. Okay, so let's get into this. So what has prompted this video are the unfortunate hit and run deaths of 2 New Jersey teenagers, um, Maria Neotis and her best friend, what was her name? Isabella Salas. And they were killed when 17-year-old Vincent Badaloro allegedly rammed into their e-bike at 70 miles an hour on Cranford Street this past Monday. Now, today, both of these girls have been laid to rest. And this is an unfortunate crime that never should have happened. Um, I- Maria was having an issue with Vincent, and she spurned his advances, which caused him to allegedly stalk her. I say allegedly because he's not been convicted of this. But this happens, people feel that they get the attention that they want from somebody, or they think it's attention they want, or that the person that's giving them the attention really likes them in that way, and they don't. And then it goes off the deep end. And sometimes it ends in death, sometimes it ends in somebody getting hurt really badly, and I would love to know why this happens, because I've dealt with this personally, but that's another story in itself. So I decided to look up the statistics of stalking in the United States. And stalking, the definition, is a pattern of repeated or unwanted behavior that causes fear for one's safety or emotional distress. It often overlaps with intimate partner violence and can involve physical proximity, threats, surveillance, or cyberstalking via technology like GPS trackers or social media. Data primarily comes from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey. So, what's even more sad is that only about 29 to 50% of the cases are reported to the police. So, a lot of times when people are getting stalked, they don't say anything to anybody. Because a lot of times when you think you're being stalked, people think you're being dramatic, it's all these things, but something's going on. So, lifetime prevalence, approximately 1 in 3 women, about 33%, and 1 in 6 men, about 16%, will experience stalking victimization at some point in their lifetime. and this equates to roughly 41 million women and about 19 million men affected. So, like I said, I personally have gone through this myself, um, and I'm sure and I've known some other people who have as well. In 2019, about 1.3% of people aged 16 and over were stalked in the past year, down slightly from 1.5% in 2016. Women face higher risks, but men account for 52% in some surveys. LGBTQ plus individuals and young adults are disproportionately affected. But the peak victimization occurs between the ages of 18 and 29. So it's generally a younger person's issue. Um, Now this I found interesting. Relationship to perpetrator. 60% of the female victims and 30% of the male victims are stalked by current or former intimate partners. And only 20 to 25% are by strangers. And the stalking often begins during the relationship and continues post separation. Um, and then the behaviors are like unwanted following, explicit messages, waiting outside homework, cyber stalking. You know, um, like I said, when I was in college, I had a guy that I went out with once, twice, I think, if that, and it just wasn't for me, and I told him that, like, "This is not for me." And he followed me everywhere, and it was scary as heck, and I would see him outside of my class, I had people walk with me to classes. The one that got me the most was it was Thanksgiving, and I had gone out with a friend to the clubs, we just did that, and, I didn't roll in till maybe, oh god, maybe 4 in the morning, maybe 5, and, my mother ran a daycare out of our house, and kids started showing up around 6 a.m. because the car my car was with me. So, I had taken my car, so I come back. It was around I guess it went about 5 a.m., and I think kids started showing up around 6 a.m. the day after Thanksgiving, and one of the parents handed my mom this card, and she said this was on, Rebecca's car, and it was from the guy, and it scared the hell out of me because that means he was waiting inside the, townhome complex where we lived, waiting on me to get home. So, that was terrifying. My older brother was like, "I see anybody near the cars, I'm gonna attack first, ask questions later." It took some guys that I knew in the bar scene that were massively big bouncers to have a conversation with him for him to leave me alone. But it's scary. It's very, very scary when these things happen. Um, and that was the situation here in New Jersey. You know, this girl in New Jersey did not want to date this guy, and he would not leave her alone. And neighbors said that she was going to get a restraining order, or had gotten a restraining order. But a piece of paper doesn't solve this problem. Um, my late husband had an aunt who was murdered by her ex-husband. Similar situation. Domestic violence had happened. She had left him. He actually went to prison over the violence he had done to her. And she had since divorced him, remarried, had children, all this stuff. And it wasn't maybe a few days after he got out of prison, he hunted her down. She was at her sister's house, hunted her down, broke into the house, pulled her out, beat up everybody, pulled her out by her hair, and ran over her with his truck like 3 times, murdered her. Like the guy went to prison because he was beating on her. And then when he got out, he kills her. And he wasn't supposed to be around her. I mean, she had a restraining order against him, like a lifetime one, but guess what? It's a piece of paper. It doesn't stop you. It's not like that piece of paper is this invisible wall that like, boom, sorry, you can't pass this point to get to this person. It doesn't work like that. And I don't know what the answer is to this. I do feel in situations where you have stalking issues, like where there's been domestic violence, where there's been some type of violence at this person, or you see text messages, you see, asking, threatening, or you see other types of evidence showing that this is escalating. These people need to be arrested. I really feel that they do because they're this is gonna end badly. with somebody getting hurt or somebody getting killed or something. And here, not only did the girl who was getting stalked get killed, but her best friend who was with her also lost her life. And she was just an innocent person, had nothing to do with the situation, but she still died too. And I'm not saying this is the Maria's fault. God knows I'm not saying that at all. But what is the answer to this? And now this boy, he is being charged with first degree murder, 2 counts of first degree murder, but he's being held in juvenile court. And I'm sorry, if you're grown enough to kill somebody, I think you're grown enough to be in adult court. That's my thought on that. Because 2 girls have lost their life because you couldn't take a rejection. And I don't think that's the way it should be, you know? I'm sorry. I just it's scary, you know, unless you've been stalked, unless you've had unwanted, attention, you may not understand this. And like I said, I know my late husband, there was no way for me to get away from him because had I left him, he would have hunted me down. So it took him dying for me to get free. And like I said, I had that guy in college. It was crazy. And yeah, so stalking does happen. I think it even happens more so now where you feel like you're being watched all the time because with the inception of social media, we put our lives out in the open for the world to comment on, for the world to view, for the world to speculate and follow. So, in a sense, we've all put ourselves out there to be watched, to be stalked. But when the word no no longer makes sense to the person who's giving you the disturbing behavior, it's a major problem. And I don't know what the answer is to fix it. But I would love to hear anybody's comments. What do you guys think? I think something also like if anybody just this just popped in my head, but if you're being stalked by somebody and you can prove that this person is giving you unwanted behavior, I think the person should get a monitoring bracelet. They should be monitored, ankle monitor, something, so they can keep tabs on these people. Because if they get within 5 feet of said person, then boom, boom, cops, you know, something. But something more needs to be done than just say, okay, well, you have a restraining order. Just call us if they show up. It takes time for cops to get there. And then I see more and more reason for vigilante justice. I mean, my oldest daughter had a ex-boyfriend that was cyber stalking her for a long time, and she was terrified. And I was ready to exact some justice on his ass, but eventually he just went away. Thank God. Um, but these things do happen and it's more common than you think. It's almost never reported. Like I said, 29 to 50% of cases are only ones that are only those get reported. There's a lot that do not. And I also gotta believe that I think some of them don't get reported because it's harder to prove that it's happening. Because unless you have something, provable, like you have text messages, you have video surveillance, you have something showing that this person is following you or bothering you, it may not get taken as seriously. Um, like, I don't think the guy that I went to college with, the guy I dated in college, I don't think I could have gotten any type of restraining order against him because I had no proof of him harassing me. I mean, I had people I went to people with me that would see him pop up in places, but outside of that, I don't think I could have gotten any type of real protection from the law from him. So, just thought of that. But like I said, those 2 girls in New Jersey did not deserve to lose their lives because some guy couldn't take the word no. And it's an unfortunate thing that has happened, and my sympathies are with those families because it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So Diddy's only gonna get probably about 2.5 years, and this kid is gonna get, hopefully, life in prison in New Jersey for what he's done. I know those families probably would love to see him get the death penalty, but I don't know what the death penalty law is in New Jersey, and with him being a minor, he may not qualify for that. like, Carmelo Anthony down in Texas does not qualify for the death penalty in Texas simply because he was a minor when he killed, um, Austin Metcalf. So the most he will get is like 30 years in prison. But that, it's gonna be forever before we get to that trial. But those are the laws. Those are the laws. But I think if you do an adult crime, you should do adult time. Simple as that. So, all right, everybody. Well, this was just a brief little hop on here and talk about the Jersey case. And it's been a long day. But this is Rebecca with Red True Crime. So, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. And keep your head on a swivel. Always be aware of your surroundings. You never know who's watching. And be weird, be rude, be safe. So have a great night, everybody. Safe weekend, and I'll be back. Bye.